Here we are in Marmoset Toolbag. This is a very neat program for rendering your stuff. I also use this program for baking a lot. If you have spent any time on ArtStation, you're going to see that a lot of people using this program. But we are going to use it for baking right now. So what I'm going to do is bring my models, high and low. And I'm going to add the baker. So if you're a Marmoset Toolbag, just a couple of things. We're not going to do a lot of things, but if you have this program and you want to use it for baking, just click here to import your model. Bring both of them, and then click on the bread, which is the baker. I already had one. And what I'm going to do is put the high on the high, and the low under low. Okay, and once we click on low, it's going to give us this cage. And this is the reason why I'm not baking this in Substance Painter, because Substance Painter doesn't allow you to see the cage. So pretty much you have to import a cage in order for you to use a cage of your own in Substance Painter, because that's the other baker that I usually use. But I'm gonna use this one because this one allows me to control my cage, which is this polygon right here. And I'm just gonna make sure that it's englobing absolutely everything. Okay, low. Right now it's asking me to give it an output because I've not set the output path of the maps that I'm going to make, so I'm going to do just that. Okay, now that I've set up my output, I want to make sure that my cage is surrounding absolutely everything. However, I don't want my cage to be too far away from my geometry, because otherwise it wouldn't get baked. It will not get baked if it's too far away from everything. So what I want to do is just make sure I'm going to give my geometry a little bit of a weird color so I can look at it. And make sure I'm not going through it. You see? Now I can see that I'm englobing absolutely everything. Okay, just like that. I'm just gonna go back to a white color. And in auto bake, quick, let's just set that in. I'm gonna go back to my baker, and here I'm going to put the settings that I need. So the settings that I want to bake from this sheet is going to be just normal maps. Ambient occlusion. I'm going to bake curvature and normal. This is world space normal if you are in Substance Painter. I'm actually going to bake those two because it might help us when we are in Substance Painter to give a little bit of extra detail to these panels. So I'm going to do just that. Actually, the first thing that I'm going to do is do a test bake. So a test bake, I do it in like a low resolution. I don't add much to it. So I just press bake. And it does it pretty quickly. So in order for me to check out my bake maps, I just hide my high poly. And if you press this button, it's going to add the map into your low poly. So as you can see, we have our nice normal maps here. Okay, this is all the bake detail from the things that we created. And as you can see, very nice. We're going to use it just now. So the baking went pretty good. I'm very confident. So what I'm going to do is bake absolutely everything. And I'm going to crank everything up to 16 samples, 16 beats. This is to avoid errors. Padding is okay. And I'm going to bring this to 4K. The reason why I want to, and I'll probably say this again when we are painting textures, the reason why I use 4K for something like this is because you always want to work on your higher settings possible and then go lower. So let's say if I'm making an object into a game that doesn't need that much resolution because you have to save on memory, I would make it 4K and that would be my raw file. If my director or my client asks me, I need these textures to be 2K or 1K, then I'll reduce it in Photoshop. It's always easier to go from higher to lower than the other way around. Okay, so I'm going to start the baker. I'll pause the video here and come back later to show you the other maps. Okay, the maps are all baked and I'm going to show you how they look. So here's a normal map. This is the position, which it's not going to be used in game, it's just going to be used for Substance Painter. Same thing with the disposition, the curvature, and the ambient occlusion. We're probably going to clean this ambient occlusion a little bit. Actually, I forgot to set up some settings, so what I'm going to do is add cavity. And I'm going to rebake the ambient occlusion. Okay, here we are with our ambient occlusion baked. And now we're gonna go back to 3D Studio Max to show you how this all works. Okay, so what I did is make a copy and we're gonna call this panel. Well, not with two N's. And what I'm going to do with this is show you the purpose. This is not an asset for our environment. This is just for me to show you the purpose of our trim sheet. So I'm gonna hide my low trim and put this in the dead center of the universe. And I'm just gonna do some basic modeling. So I'm going to bevel it. Okay, that should be about right. Turn on edge mode. ring. Going to chamfer this. Make a nice panel. Maybe I'll extrude this one a little bit. Okay. So another thing that I'm going to do is connect these so it's a little bit more even. And I'm going to select this, click this, and chamfer that border. Okay. Just give this some smoothing groups. All right. I don't know. Let's make another detail where we can put part of. No, nothing like that. I'll just do something random like this. Again, this asset's not going to be in our environment, so it's just for testing. So if you want to test it out, just do whatever you like. Or you can use this panel. Because I'm going to give these assets with the project file, so you can use this panel for testing. Alright, so I made, some model a little bit. There you go, like this. Actually, let's inset. Sorry, I might be going too crazy on the details that for something that's just for testing, but I like to, have my things looking nice. Okay, so this is for the vent. We might round these a little bit more. And chamfer. Okay, just like I said, because this surface is completely flat, I'm not worried about having end guns. Those will be transformed into triangles anyways on the game engine. So you can see we could use some smoothing groups around here. So let's just do that. I think we're good. And I'm just gonna get rid of this strip, this thing that's going around. Get rid of that. We just need this panel. So the way this thing works is, before I do that, I'm going to go into my materials, and I'm going to create a physical material. If you are in 3 Studio Max, follow this. If not, then just go into your shader editor and create a material where you can add your normal map, just so you can see what you are unwrapping. So I'm gonna add a physical material. I'm gonna double click it. Actually, I'm just gonna take it away from here. Bump map, general. And where is normal bump? And right here, bitmap. And I'm going to look for the normal map that we just baked. Okay, once I have my normal map here, I want to make sure that it's set to 1. And I'm going to apply this material. It's actually too smooth. I'm just going to change this to 0.6 and color to a little bit lighter. Okay, now I'm going to apply this material to this object, and now I can close that. Make sure this is black, just so we can see the lines. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is unwrap it. So I apply an unwrap modifier, open my UV editor, take out my plane, and put my map here. And another thing that I want to, because I want to see what's going on my viewport, I need to change this to show realistic materials with maps. Okay. So this is the real purpose of the trim sheet. As you can see, there's detail all over the place, and we are actually going to fix how this all looks. So first thing is we need to separate all the pieces, and I'm going to go more in depth in unwrapping in another video. But this is just to show you what it is. I'm actually going to delete this. Okay, so I flat mapping. Okay. So we have our panel. And what do we want? What detail do we want to put on our panel? Let's put this detail here. The way that I'm going to do that is by grabbing that polygon, and I'm going to separate it from absolutely everything else. I'm going to put it here. And since I don't want any other detail, I'm just going to grab this and put it here where I don't have any normals. Okay. Or maybe if I wanted to use these pair of details that I have here, I can do that. Check it out. And of course, normal maps in 3D Studio Max are really not the best, but you'll see what I mean. Now let's grab this whole strip and let's unwrap it. See, it unwraps it as one strip, and we pack it into our 0, 1 space. And now one thing we can do with this strip is rotate it 90 degrees. And we can use one of the lines that we have here. Actually, this needs to be wider. That. And you can use either this line or this line. So let's just go with this line. And what else? Oh, we said this was going to be our vent. So I'm just going to flatten this out. Turn it 90 degrees and put it over here. And again, our vent, it's actually going to be larger, but we can just do this. And let me unwrap this flat. And as you can see, all of our detail is in our sheet. Again, 3D Studio Max doesn't play well with normal maps. Just something that I'm not happy with. But hey, where did the detail go? Oh yeah, we need to do that again. Yeah. So what I did when I packed the normals is it took this polygon away from me, and that's why I wasn't seeing my vents. Okay. So this is the purpose of the trim sheet, and again, this is just, you know, so I can show you guys what it's doing. You know what? I'm actually gonna go back into Marmoset Toolbag and I'll show you there. Okay, here we are in Marmoset Toolbag, and I brought my panel, and as you can see, we don't have the problems that we were having in 3D Studio Max. So I can demonstrate how everything looks here. I'm going to turn down the gloss and the reflectivity. I'm actually going to give this a gray color. Okay, just so the light is not so loud. Alright, so as you can see, by unwrapping our asset in a very specific way, we can make use of those details as normal maps without having to create a high poly. So as you can see, this thing that's going around here was the line that I had on my trim sheet, and now that line is creating this nice detail on my normal map, just like I showed you in the beginning. Okay, so now you guys know how to do this. This requires a little bit of practice. It's not gonna go well the first time. It didn't go well the first time for me. If it does for you, awesome. But this requires a little bit of practice. Just keep on doing it. It's a very nice way to add details. I'm also gonna show another way to add details when we are at Substance Painter, but I wanted to get this out of the way. Okay, so now we can get back to modeling.